jump right in, shall we? Today, we're talking about something, well, it's a skill that's just critical in today's world, the art of deception. And look, the point isn't to get good at doing it, but to get really, really good at seeing it.
I mean, you know that feeling, right? That little voice in the back of your head. That nagging suspicion that things aren't quite what they seem. That maybe someone is trying to subtly bend things to their will. This whole explainer is about taking that instinct and sharpening it into a real tool. Okay, so this next idea, it's a bit provocative, but it's really the core of what we're talking about today. The idea is that power isn't about right or wrong. It's basically a social game. And in this game, fair play, well, that often gets pushed aside for pure strategy. The goal isn't always something evil, you know? It's just getting other people to do what you want, and ideally, getting them to do it without them even realizing they've been played. All right, let's get into the first section here and really understand the art of the game. We're talking about the rules of influence and power. And just to be clear, this isn't about telling a simple lie. Oh no, it's way more complex. It's an art form, really, with its own rules, its own strategies, and it plays on our own psychology. So what is deception exactly? Here's the definition we're working with. And pay attention to the key words here, because they matter. It's deliberate. This isn't some accident. It misrepresents reality. So it's twisting the truth. And most importantly, it's done for a reason, to get a competitive advantage.
And you gotta understand, deception isn't just one thing. It really has two different faces. On one hand, you've got the cover. Think of this as a passive act. It's about hiding the truth, keeping secrets. Then you've got lying. This is an active move. This is where someone is literally creating a brand new story, a false reality. But here's the thing. Both tactics have the exact same goal, to steer you away from what's actually going on.
So, why are we so susceptible to all this? I mean, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? If this stuff is happening all the time, why are we so bad at spotting it? The answer, it turns out, is baked right into our own psychology. So what are these built-in vulnerabilities? What makes us such easy targets? It really boils down to a few key blind spots. You know, we're often gullible simply because deep down we want to believe something is true. We have this instinct to trust appearances. We project our own honesty onto other people, assuming they think like we do. And maybe the biggest one? When we see evidence that contradicts what we believe, our brain just goes into overdrive trying to rationalize it, to explain it away. And a master of deception, they know this. They count on it, and they exploit it perfectly. All right, so now we're getting into the deceiver's playbook. We're going to look at 3 common tactics you absolutely need to recognize. Because look, if you want to defend yourself in this game, you have to know the opponent's moves. Okay, tactic number 1, conceal your intentions. This is foundational. Someone who's a master of influence, they almost never show you their true purpose. They keep you guessing. They keep you off balance. They'll throw out what's called a red herring, some kind of decoy or distraction to send you on a total wild goose chase, all while they're quietly pursuing what they really want. Then there's tactic number 2, the smoke screen. And this one is just brilliant because it's so simple. The idea here isn't to be flashy or mysterious. It's the exact opposite. It's to hide in plain sight. By putting on this bland, totally inconspicuous, or just familiar face, you become part of the furniture. You divert attention from what you're really up to. Nobody pays attention to the boring guy in the corner, right? And that brings us to tactic number 3, selective honesty. Now, this one is super sophisticated. It's basically the give before you take strategy. Here's how it works. First, they'll offer you some calculated gift or a small, honest admission. That's step 1. What does that do? Well, it disarms you. It lowers your guard and makes you think, hey, this person's all right. And then, once your suspicion is gone, that's when they make the real move. That's when the real deceptive request comes. Okay, so that's the playbook. And I know it can feel a little heavy, a little daunting, but remember, knowledge is power here. So let's flip this around and talk about the most important part, building your own counter strategy, how you can defend yourself and start to see things clearly. So where do you even start? What's the number one thing you need to focus on? It's this. Your single greatest barrier is your own emotional response. A manipulator wants you to get upset. They want you angry or flustered or even overjoyed. Why? Because when your emotions are in the driver's seat, your rational brain is tied up in the trunk. You just can't think clearly.
And it's so true. Anger literally clouds your vision. It makes situations feel way less controllable than they actually are. So the first and most powerful step in your defense is to train yourself not to take things personally, to create that little bit of emotional distance. When you can stay calm and objective, you stay in control, not them.
Okay, so this leads us to the core principle of self-defense. And it's simple. Judge people by their deeds, not their words. Think about it. Words are cheap. They're easy to fake. They're the primary tool of any manipulator. But actions create patterns over time. And those patterns, well, they don't lie. That's where you find the truth. So you have to learn to ignore the talk and just watch the walk.
Okay, but what if their actions are confusing? That's a fair question, right? If deeds are the key, how do we actually decode them, especially when things seem murky? Well, lucky for us, there's an ancient and incredibly powerful tool for exactly this. It's a simple question from Latin, cui bono. It just means, for whose benefit, or who benefits? Seriously, whenever you can't figure out someone's real motive, just follow the trail. Who stands to gain the most from this situation? 9 times out of 10, that trail will lead you straight to the hidden intention. All right, let's wrap this up with a few key defensive mindsets you can start using right away. First, maintain a healthy skepticism. Don't be cynical, just be aware. Second, know your own emotional weak spots. What gets you fired up? Know it and guard it. Third, learn to spot manipulators early, and then just disengage. Don't try to play their game or appease them. And finally, the big one we keep coming back to, focus on what people do, not what they say.
You know, when you really think about it, the ultimate defense here isn't about learning complex counter moves or becoming a better player in this whole game of deception. The real goal is to be able to step outside the game completely. The ultimate power isn't about out-deceiving someone else. It's the simple, but definitely not easy, act of just seeing reality for what it is. And so that really leaves us with one final big question to think about. In a world that is just flooded with deception, where everyone is trying to influence and persuade us, is it possible that the ultimate power, the real form of freedom, is just the ability to see clearly?